right. Hey, it's another episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. If you are watching us here on any of the social media, please do us a favor, subscribe, share, like, or comment on this podcast. You can find this podcast at engagingvirtualmeetings.online and subscribe on any of your 13 favorite platforms. By the way, today we have an expert podcaster, so check out and listen for tips along that. And I want to just encourage you to register for the Engaging Conference, October 1, 2, and 3. You can register at engagingvirtualmeetings.com/con, and this will be the first year we're going to be hybrid. So 150 lucky people will get to be here with us here in Seattle and see how the sausage is made. Maybe sausage is the wrong metaphor for today. See how the soda is made is really the right metaphor. And as well as the 500 Zoom attendees and then an unlimited YouTube audience. So really excited for that. Now, this next guest that I met at Training Magazine. You know, you got to have one of these beverages and a smile. I'm excited because I've visited the museum that they have in Atlanta, Georgia, and this gentleman is in charge of much of the training of people around the world who bring these products in, and he started a new podcast that he's very excited to tell you about that's gaining a lot of traction. Let's welcome the one and only Mike from Coca-Cola. Hey, Mike.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're listening from. So.
Now, Mike, say your last name so I get it right.
It's Kachurik, Mike Kachurik. It's like a sneeze. That's why I said it twice. Kachurik.
Kachurik. Excuse me.
There you go. Bless you.
Bless you, my child.
All
okay.
right.
Thank you so much. And it's so great for you to be here, Mike. Again, we met at Training Magazine. I really want to appreciate that you sent me a photo of my mouse pad, right? My mouse pad should be sitting in the Coca-Cola studios. I was so impressed. You stopped by when we had this amazing production booth, and you stopped by and just let us know and shared that Coca-Cola has its own production booth for doing virtual training all around the world. So I'm really excited to see about that. So for my friends who don't know you, Mike, why don't you do us a favor and tell us who you are and what you do?
There we go. It's going to show you a picture there of you. Yeah, I'm Mike Kachurik, and I've been with Coca-Cola 23 years. Started as a technician in Columbus, Ohio, moved my way up through the ranks. I got to be a manager, managing technicians for many years. And then now I'm in the training role for the equipment side of the business, and specifically the fountain side of the business. So all that fountain you pour at your favorite restaurant, I train the technicians that service that equipment and install that equipment. Keep our soda flowing out there, making everybody happy. So I do a lot of training around the U.S. and, you know, the world changed right there in 2020 with the virtual space. So we do a lot of our broadcasting training out of the Atlanta headquarters now, and really enjoying it. It's a challenge, and I keep learning more tricks of the trade. John's one of them. John, you're a big help. I met him last year at a conference there in Orlando. And let's see if I can get this set right here. There we go.
Oh my God, look at that. Hold on. I got to get out of the way of this. Hold on. Let me just show you. Continue.
Here's where I sat down with John and got my autographed book, and really enjoyed his studio he set up there in the Expo Center. And I spent most of my time there, John, just learning from you. But great conference, great speakers. Really enjoyed the event.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mike. And thank you for that great picture. You know, and that studio is a smart idea. Yeah, yes.
Oh, yeah. Big
Making
fan.
my whole day is that they brought in a collection of other trainers and we all worked together. I was their producer, there was the trainer, and we really showed. I mean, you could have sat there in that audience, right, learning both sides, right, listening to the trainers while getting that information and peeking behind the scenes. That was the intention. You can actually see what we're doing there. They even gave me a pan tilt zoom camera, right, with a joystick that I could actually go into the audience with, and that's how we brought Mike in more than once inside of that program.
Very cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it down there. I learned a lot, and we had our studio already going, so I was taking notes on how we can make improvements, learning from you.
So, Mike, talk to me a little bit too about let's just talk about pre-COVID and post-COVID. So, How did the training used to happen
Okay.
for Coca-Cola?
Training
And
before COVID was in-person training, so
yeah,
we had a numerous amount of trainers who would travel the whole U.S. So that required shipping equipment, training equipment throughout the country, us shipping training manuals, and us myself traveling, flying around the world, staying in hotels. But yeah, we would come to you and provide the training. So a lot of cost and expense was involved to get us there, and everything was hands on at that point. And when class was over, we'd pack up and go to the next city. So it's almost like I was a carnival worker. It was pack up my amusement rides, move to the next city, set up, have a great time learning, and do it all over again. So that was pre-COVID, right?
right.
So a lot of expense. So save time and money. Virtual, we can have a larger audience as well. Whereas in person, we have 4 or 5 students, and now we can have. See, we've had classes up to 60, 70, believe it or not. So,
Wow.
but yeah, a lot more easier on me at traveling wise doing virtual,
Yeah.
and a lot less expensive for the company.
Oh, well, I want to give a shout out to my very good friend Terry Stamulus is watching from Long Beach in LA. Where I'm sure a lot of product is dispensed. You know, I learned the really cool facts that in Disneyland in Anaheim, right, there's a whole piping system that was developed for Coca-Cola, right, to deliver syrup in one location and distribute it all around the park. They don't use that anymore. The bags actually turn out to be better, but it was one of the early innovations at Disneyland that you're a key part of. So it's cool to see the company, you know, innovating in all these different ways. Mike, so what were some early fails and what was some early learnings in that jump to virtual, right? Because
Jump to
everybody did
virtual.
it.
Oh yeah, it takes getting used to looking out of a camera. I tell you that. I'm more of a let me see the person I'm speaking to. Is the message clear? Do I get the stare out into nowhere or the confused look, and I can spend more time on the material?
Right.
Now I'm facing a camera. Now when I'm in the Atlanta studio, we have a producer, and I don't see any of the participants. I see a camera, so I rely on my producer to let me know.
Ooh.
So yeah, fancy stuff. Now we do some training sessions from home as well,
Yeah.
and I have full control of that. I can see everyone in the comments and stuff. But yeah, the challenge is getting people to participate when they're hands on. It's just like school when we went to school and you had a teacher. You get up out of your chair and you perform the actions. And I'm a technical trainer, so it's a little bit different than the office environment. We're teaching how to turn a wrench, how to work on electrical, plumbing, refrigeration. So it's a lot more uh, hands-on out in the trade than just an office space meeting.
Well, I
But
think it's important too because you get clear indicators, right? Sometimes in work you don't get clear indicators, but your field should tell you whether or not they were able to do something or not. Like for instance, if you can't dispense product, right? That is a key important problem at
sure.
Coca-Cola. I think I didn't we didn't arrange this, but do you have any pictures of the studio handy?
Yeah.
And while you do that, I just want to say hi
Yep.
to my good friend and aloha to Jiki Farah, who's watching in Hawaii, right? Mahalo to you, Jiki. He's one of my fellow Asian Pacific Islander speakers.
Do.
So, side note to that, February 21st, Mike, I now have 19. Oh, no, I take it back. I just got two more. 21 Asian Pacific Islander speakers that I'm going to do a showcase on February 21st. All live stream, all virtual. Okay, let's go ahead and let's take
Very
a look at
cool.
this, right?
All right. I don't have it full screen here, but we'll go through here. So we have the SIP studios.
Yeah.
Oh, technology, right? There we go. All right. Think we're set now. The
Ooh,
SIP
look at this
studio. So I'm
mess.
part of the service innovation and performance department here at Coca-Cola.
Sip,
And
very,
this is just a
very
glimpse of our
cool.
studio. This is the production side. He sits behind the soundproof glass. We do have 2 producers now. We have Ro and Bo. So Ro, she just joined us recently, but it's funny how the same name, Ro and Bo. So there's a peek inside. This is a electrical class I'm setting up on a table. I have some electrical components there. And we have cameras. We have a camera up on a ceiling you might be able to see in there.
Oh, I see
Um,
PTD on the top. Yeah,
I can't point to it there, but up
I
there.
see it. Yeah.
Cameras on the side and the front view, and there's my monitors I look at.
Look at
So,
so go back to the vertical monitor for a second. There's a lot of
oh,
people
that
actually,
one.
Blue and Barry, right now are teaching the virtual event on virtual events, and they use these vertical monitors just to put the chat in so you can see it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So there's me in the freestyle class there. So we do have green screens. The green screen will slide either wall around the studio, depending on what classes we're doing.
Hmm.
So I'm like the weatherman, and I'll get into VR here shortly. But that's a peek of the studio. Now behind the scenes, if I get my Stream Deck to work properly here, um,
Practice, 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 Mike.
practice. There we go. So let's go with. Here we go. This is just a sneak peek of one of my virtual sessions. Now we use Zoom and
Very cool.
Teams to broadcast these. We use vMix as the program to get these out there. But this is me in front of a green screen, doing basic fountain, going over flow paths and whatnot. And then we can also bring out props live in the studio. So this is a cutaway of a carbonator. We can get into regulators and all the little components that make fountain pour. There's more that happens than just pushing your lever. A lot of behind the scenes to get that soda to flow. Yeah.
And perfectly and consistently, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. The consistency is big. We got a QSC program every 90 days. We want to make sure everything's in ratio. So we're pouring out that perfect recipe. So
Wow.
that's just a sneak peek of me doing my thing in there.
Now,
Uh,
let me remind you too, though, Mike, the ability to do that stand-up training like that, right? Where you
mhm.
are weather personing like this, I'm telling you, it's 1%, right? Mike, you
Right.
already, because of the studio, you put it in the 1% of presenters. And I've been watching the last 4 years. I even really assessed in the last year, then returned back to in person. Even many of the top presentation designers are just still sharing their screen. And so, what
Sure.
led you to do that weather kind of person thing, especially for your part. I really
Right.
like that part, which when you have a technical diagram and you say,
Sure.
now you got to do this and now you got to do this, it's a skill you got to learn, but it's so valuable. Again, what led you to that decision
What led
to
us?
do that?
So the little laser pointer will not work virtual. It's hard to find that little dot going around. So it's better to get in front of that green screen and point out exactly the components I'm
Yeah,
talking to.
right.
Yeah, here. And it is tricky. Left is right, right is left. You got to get used to that, right? But um, I think I need more monitors, so I'm like truly the weatherman, so I can see no matter where I'm looking at, I can see myself. But yeah, another thing is since the students not buy the equipment, it works better walking around in front of a camera and pointing things out.
Yes.
So we're just trying to find a way to transition from, okay, you're not there in person, but how do we give that effect that we are there with the equipment?
Yeah.
And by you observing, you can get a good picture of what we're talking about.
So now, what are some of the best practices that during your training? So again, what are some of the things that you make sure that you do or you discovered to do over the last 4 years to make this training engaging for a bunch of tech heads who,
Right.
have to work on machinery all day?
Yeah, it's easy to forget you have an audience out there. It's just, me and a producer in the studio. So I got to keep remember there's somebody behind the camera there. And we got to make sure, yes, they are engaged. So it's a lot of let's take a break, question you have any, or take a stop, pause. You have any questions? And the hardest thing is because they have to find the mute button. It's like the longest 4-second pause in the world. You get that awkward feeling standing there, but you got to give them time because a lot of our students on the other end are watching this from their own shop or facility, and it's on a monitor,
Yeah,
and they'll have to walk up to the computer, hit the unmute to get involved. But we also use Mentimeter to challenge what they've learned.
good.
We operate at the end of the program like a game show. We'll give out Coca-Cola branded prizes based on speed, who answers the question the fastest. So we have fun with it. We'll have the theme music for a, a game show going on, so make it real fun and interactive. But
What's
I can say it's I can
what's
say
that?
it's still a challenge to get them involved. It's something they're not used to. I
Yeah.
think post COVID, they're getting more used to attending virtual classes, and you're starting to see more of a comfort level of them getting involved. But it's still a big challenge.
Yeah, and I think it will continue to be, although, it's like anything else, right? People are getting familiar, so they're getting to it. I'm curious, do you have like a great success story in the last 4 years? So here, I'll give you some examples. What was one of them? Well, one of them is that we produced like inclusivity. We actually produced a program in Spanish, and there was a woman who was listening to Spanish, and then we ended interpretation, did like an open house, and she raised her hand to ask a question. She started asking a question, and she started crying, Mike.
Wow.
And then we're like, now we're all looking at our interpreter, going, "What did she
What
say?"
did you say? You say the right thing?
And it was early. It was like April 2020, and she goes, she had a business that was a nursery care, like a preschool care, and it got completely destroyed by COVID. Nobody can go to preschool, right, in April of 2020, and so she had no resources, no idea how to save her, what to do for her business. And what was really cool about this, and this is all on a virtual meeting, four people, including three people from the Seattle Office of Economic Development, said, "We will meet with you and bring an interpreter so we can try and help you." And then she started crying, but for a good reason.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
I don't know if
valuable.
you have
Yeah.
any stories like that. Maybe it's not that big, but I'm just curious to see if you have any memorable stories from the early days of COVID cook training.
I don't know if that big, but what we're seeing is instead of shutting down completely, training going away because we can't travel,
Yeah.
just offering that VR and continuing it kept them well educated, and their new hires are bringing on, they're able to learn, and rather than just shutting down the whole business, we have to find a way to continue. So it's not a big aha moment, but we were able to continue on with training. We had our studio built prior to COVID, and we were already doing some virtual sessions with our advanced freestyle equipment. We just went, full speed, turning everything virtual real quick when
Yeah.
COVID happened, but we really
Yeah.
didn't shut down the business. So that was great. And then as far as other languages, we're looking into programs that will have the closed caption, we'll have the other languages available. For the most part, I train North America and Canada, so you do
Yeah.
have a little bit of French speaking areas,
Mhm.
but we're going to be able to translate our trainings. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, well, Zoom already has the feature built into it, so you can actually show the captions in different languages. And PowerPoint has had it for years too. I don't know. Have you ever
Hmm.
seen that?
I haven't looked into. There's so many
Here,
features out there. I haven't seen that yet.
here's a good one. So this is in slideshow. Always use subtitles. Okay, give me any language other than English.
Let's do France, French.
Let's do French. Okay, so let's see. All right, I'm gonna show one of my slides here. Let's see if I can do this correctly. One, two, three, four, five. Oh, good. Okay, so now I'm gonna show this. Well, hello, Mike. I can't believe that you are here interviewing on my show. If you want to be the next guest on my interview, please go to this URL or link and select interview, and you too can be my next guest on Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast.
That is neat.
That's just PowerPoint.
Bonjour, Mike.
That's right. Bonjour, Mike.
That's
Oh,
very
that's
good.
really what it should say. But
All right.
that technology's been around in there, and that's also built into Teams. So so you can take a look at that, and that doesn't cost anything. That's the cool part. It is 80 to 95% correct based on my other foreign-speaking people who have seen it. But
Right.
the best part too, though, Mike, is I usually can buy 5 to 10 minutes of engagement by showing that because they're still staring at the captions because they want to see how good it is.
That's
Like, is it
awesome.
is it valid or is it
Yeah, oh,
not?
yeah, yeah. Is it right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well,
besides, besides that, we're looking into a virtual reality as well. Virtual reality headsets is what we're going to. So we can ship the headsets across country,
yes,
and we can have our instructor in the studio with the headset on and
yeah.
conduct the live training. And let me see here. Go back to my desktop.
Which
So
headset are
here's
you
a
are you using for this one then?
this is a we've reached out to Campfire is the name of the company.
Okay.
They attend a lot of your training conferences, and we did meet with Campfire at another conference, and we are teaming up with them to come up with some training material for us. And on these, if I can advance the slide here, you're getting some funky poses when you're looking around the equipment. They're looking around a freestyle, which is it's our drink machine that has 200 plus flavors,
Right,
and
freestyle, right.
you can reach out. It's almost like you can touch it. It's amazing. And what we want to set up is assessments. So we'll have individual assessments
Mhm.
where every learner will have their own machine, and we'll give them a task and see if they can repair the machine, find the part, troubleshoot the part that's bad, replace it, all through virtual. And so instead of everybody sharing just one machine, they each have their own in front of them. So it's just another way of teaching our technicians.
Is
So that
this now like in beta or is this actually in production now, Mike?
this is it hasn't been. Our producers can toy around with it right now, but we haven't went live. It's coming up very soon though.
So I've seen like early demos too. Obviously, Mike, I came from the Microsoft part, and the Microsoft Lens was really one of the pieces where, with the augmented reality piece, that you can see the real machine and then you can start getting overlays, right? So, like, for instance, seeing the page of the manual while you're looking at the real part. And a lot of people, actually, I just booked my demo, Mike, for the Apple VR headsets. So I want to go
Yes.
check that. Yeah, see, like just like that, right? Here,
Yeah,
hold
we're
on.
in augmented right now. This is live. So when we do our classes out of our studio there in Atlanta,
Wow.
we do get into these the augmented. Another one is 3D modeling. So they
Yeah.
can go on our LMS system, and this is a fountain unit, and this is a multi-valve assembly here, where they can show you how to remove that valve assembly. So we have that technology we're using today, and there's another one here of a valve. You can just really explode that valve and get into the inner workings of it.
Oh my gosh, there's that many parts in a valve
There's a lot. That's why I said it's not pushing a valve to get your soda drink. There's a lot involved here, a lot of components.
to get that perfect mix, right?
Hmm. To make that perfect drink. Exactly.
Interesting. This is amazing. So, what gains have you seen? Like, Mike, do you have any like tangible gains or for that training? I mean, obviously, you're trying to reduce downtime and or that freestyle
Sure.
product is really a new strategic initiative from Coke, too,
So
right?
it takes up to 2 years to train a fountain technician to go over
Wow,
the equipment.
two
The fountain,
years?
yes, a lot of learning, a lot of touches. You got to think besides fountain, our service providers are working on coolers, vending machines,
Mhm.
all kinds of different equipment. We're in a hot beverage, we're in the water filtration, reverse osmosis. There's just a lot of equipment. So it does take up to 2 years to become an efficient technician. So they're going to learn. Their learning path involves that whole 2 years. We want to start them out with the basics. Within 6 months, they're going in more advanced equipment. You can't just flood them with all the knowledge right away.
Yeah.
And with virtual, it's a lot easier to get to everybody. Before we had to plan our travel, and it could have been months out there. Now, today's world, if they have a big project, a conversion coming up, maybe we're installing some new fountain machine, we can get that information to them the next day. They don't
Wow.
need to be on a waiting list for us to travel to them. So
Right.
we're
Yeah.
saving a lot of time. And for our service providers, we're not pulling them off the street for a solid week to go through one course. We can
They
do
can
that
get in a
course in
couple hours, right?
three
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then mixing the video and the AR, it cuts a lot of time from an instructor. Let me take this apart for you, show you all the components. Well, here's a video. It's going to be really quick and to the point. I mean, how many times can we go on YouTube to watch how to fix something? And
Yeah.
they give
Yeah.
you
That's
that
what it's.
1 minute video, and you're like, oh, I'm a pro now. So we can actually save time by making those videos.
And I've done that. I've changed. I own a Porsche Boxster, right? And the labor
Yeah.
for a Porsche Boxster is enormous. So I changed my own light bulbs out, and in fact, I upgraded them because now I have LED lights. So they made like
Yeah.
a retro upgrade that is much brighter, much better. And I installed it all myself. And so that's really it's amazing how the world right starts sometimes starts to show corporations where it should be, and vice versa inside of that. You know, it's really funny. There's one other product I know that takes 2 years to learn how to make. Do you know what that product is, Mike?
There's a lot of products. Tell me.
In Havana, I once ran a team building event in Miami. I was in Little Havana. I went into a cigar shop, and it was for a event where people made partner. and they wanted one of the activities to be to make a cigar. And I said, "How long does it take to learn how to roll a cigar?" And they said 2 years.
Wow. Really? 2 years.
And I said, "What can you do in 30 minutes?" And he goes, "Well, you can finish a cigar. You can put the cap on it, and then you can put the sticker on it, and that's what you can do in 30. And then have some Cubano and a coffee with
There
it."
you go. There you go.
So
So
we did that instead.
it's amazing. So a lot of our learners, they're hands-on learners. That's why they're
Yep.
a technician. They want to tinker with their hands, and we do get that comment all the time. I still want the hands-on touch. So what we've done there is we do these, we call it Tech Tip web series. So we do that from our own home studios.
Okay.
So each of our trainers have put some money into more cameras, microphones, lights, and it's really, you can get a decent setup for like $300. It's not that expensive, really.
It's
It really
it's
isn't.
not, right?
And so I'll do another picture in picture for you, but there we go. So this is live camera right here. So what I tell them, this is a fountain valve. This is a Lancer electric fountain valve on our legacy fountain equipment. So I tell our students, bring a valve to class with you.
Mm-hmm.
And what we'll do, we'll take it apart together. It's virtual, but you're getting that hands-on look. And then if
Ooh.
you're struggling, let's see, you have a camera as well. What are you struggling about? What do you need help, assembling or disassembling?
Yeah.
Well, we can do that with multiple components in our fountain system. So it's pretty
Very
cool stuff.
cool. I'm trying to figure out, I think I have a spot finally for an overhead camera, because my desk is really like, I think you've seen my setup, right?
I've
It's
seen you
ridiculous.
had like 12 monitors going here.
Yeah, so I don't
There it
have
is.
any good desk space to do it like right here. That's not my setup, but I am thinking about like putting this here. I also have this space here where actually I thought, and then mount a camera over here. So this spot right here is actually the overhead camera. I think
There
that's
you
the
go.
idea that I
There
have
you go. I
for
like
this
that seat you
particular.
got there. That chair is pretty slick.
Yeah, this is just a ball from Amazon. I felt it was good over COVID because then I get movement. And the other part that's the win for it too, Mike, is that it doesn't have a chair back. So when I do my stand-up stuff, I roll the ball. Actually, here, I'll show you, right? I'll
Perfect.
roll the ball here. I will lock it in like this so it doesn't roll into my frame, and now walk backwards, and now I can do some stand-up work,
Mm.
right? And so these are just all these little small things. But I'm telling you, Mike, you're in the top 1%. That's why I
You
like
know,
you.
I'm going on Amazon after this and buying one of those.
Yeah, it's 17.89. It's like not that much.
That's
Be in your
fun.
house
That's great.
tomorrow. So, Mike, tell me about this podcast. So, I putting out this podcast. I'm starting to get some good statistics from it. Why is this podcast such a big deal or strategic or blowing up in your
Yeah.
eyes?
So this is a technical podcast, which I don't know if there's many out there. I've been looking, but we go over basically the fountain industry. We go over our equipment. We do interviews with engineers who designs our fountain equipment.
Hmm.
Interviews with multiple people in our sales force. But it's another way to spread more learning as our drivers, our technicians are driving from one account to another. There's a lot of windshield time. So why not play a podcast and freshen up on your learning? So the podcast was idea of George Louise, one of our other trainers here.
Hmm.
And we were unsure about it, but we're in season 3 already and having good success. And they're fun to record. Now, ours are edited, unlike this live version right here, John, but editing could take up to 6 times longer than the actual podcast.
That's why I don't edit.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about we change up and just go live stream. But yeah, it's called Beverage Break Podcast. If you want to look that up, Beverage
Put it
Break
in the chat.
Podcast.
By the
Or
way, yeah, it's on
yeah,
the link for every
awesome.
place that this is streaming at. You can get a link to this,
Yeah.
but it's
Beverage,
beveragebreak.com. Go
yeah,
ahead.
beverage.com. You'll find us. And we have fun. We have a little humor involved in there in the mix because we don't want something dry. I mean, it's almost like that morning radio show you listen to. If it's dry, you're not going to tune in every day, right? So we have a little entertainment factor in there as well as a lot of learning. And it's taken off, and our fountain group loves it. So getting great feedback.
So Mike, did you ever have that dream at one time to be like a radio DJ, or did you have
I
that?
don't know if I did have that back when we had cassette tapes. Cassette tapes came out, and you would record yourself and have a little intro music, and we did our own little radio shows as kids. And I don't
What
know
was
how many people have done that, but me and my friends growing up, we've tried to act like we had our own radio station.
This is WCOCA playing all the beverage hits here in the pandemic. Coming up next, let's watch Jurassic Park.
There you go.
So yeah, I had the dream. I had the dream too.
And it was nowhere fancy as we can get today.
Yeah,
yeah, we
but
had
you
the
did
dream.
it. The whole fact that you did it, right? I think it's really kind of cool with that. So, Mike, I mean, do you have some radio voice? Do you have some radio voice that you can do?
I don't know. I have a deep voice. I have a deep voice, anyways. So that's my radio voice. But I always had the deep voice.
But you
I
got
don't
to
know.
do some radio
Welcome.
talk. Can you do like
Tune in. Tune in to beveragebreak.com.
There, there it is.
Every other Wednesday, new episode released 11 a.m. Eastern time. There you go.
Yeah, then you got to get
Don't
like
quit my day job. I know.
you need to do a audio signature, right? Which was like the radio stations. Bam! It's time for beverage break.
There we go.
Or you got to get a can. I think the can
Yeah.
actually the can opening is yeah. Psst,
Maybe
it's
that'll be
time
the next sound effect for the intro. You'll hear the can opening up. So
It's time for beverage break. Oh my goodness.
and it's
So
really
what-
cool. We can see the analytics, and I'm sure you can too, John,
Yeah.
of who's tuning in. And we're in 26 countries, even though we've made it for North America, so US and Canada, but somehow it's getting out there in 26 countries. So we have a person from Italy who's a technician for the McDonald's group out there in Italy.
Oh.
And he's getting a lot of information, a lot of great information from our podcast. So it's pretty neat how we're reaching the other side of the world.
Well, this is kind of I'm a member. I'm the president-elect right now for National Speakers Associations, and all the speakers have this great phrase, right? The riches are in the niches. Right? And so you have this really unique niche, but I mean, but there's got to be a lot of beverage technicians out there in the world by chance or by design, by choice. And you're right, you're saying that there is no content. And so if you can find this weird niche, right, you can really make something that can attract a lot of people. And then again, can have side benefits like somebody who's at McDonald's. Maybe they want to go to the mothership and go to Coke, right? So, maybe they'll jump ship because they learned about Mike and the Beverage Break podcast. So there's some side benefits that might happen from that.
And the podcast is open to anybody. If you want to know more about our industry and our fountain equipment, you can tune on in. I can tell you my sister's a big follower, but it's probably because she's my sister. But I learned a lot about fountain that I did not know about. And I'm like, yeah, it's out there. It's interesting stuff. There's science involved. I mean, if your drinks are above 40 degrees, you don't retain carbonation. It'll go flat.
Well,
So I always say there, if I'm sitting there at the bar and I got my draft beer out there on the bar there, and you see the bubbles rising, oh, it looks refreshing. But it's telling me my beer is warming up above 40 degrees. You better hurry up and drink it. The same thing as a cola. It's doing the same thing. As it warms up, those molecules, they expand and blow up, or they escape in the atmosphere. So, but your drink needs to be below 40 degrees to have that great crisp taste.
It was fascinating. I got a chance to meet the marketer for Coors Light, and they talked about the blue thing on the can. So basically, that was the cool marketing device, which was it turned the right color when the beer was the correct temperature to serve it at.
I laugh at that though. I know when my beer is cold by drinking it, but it was a good, I drink Coors. That's one of my favorite beers, but I like the blue can. It's a good visual that it is cold.
It's funny that it worked, but so what's a technical fact that we don't know about? I love the 40 degrees. I feel like it must pushed all the carbon dioxide out, right?
Right. So all of our fountain equipment requires cooling. Again, to achieve that, we have to be under 40 degrees. So most of our fountain machines, Legacy, you have a cold plate, your ice cubes are on there, and it's removing the heat and chilling it down.
Yeah.
Without that cooling, so if I don't put any ice in that ice bin, everyone thinks that ice bin's to scoop ice to put in your drink, but it's doing two things. It's also chilling our product down. So if it's not below 40, you have that foamy drink. So if you're out there dispensing at a restaurant filling up your glass and it keeps foaming over, it's a good indicator I have a cooling problem. There's no ice on the cold plate, and that's why it keeps foaming up. It needs to chill down more. So, what other fun fact? Do you know why McDonald's has the best tasting drink?
No, go.
Four things. Four things.
Four things.
Four things. So the one is cooling. They have a remote cooling system. So 24/7, they use a multiplex machine in the back and it's circulating soda water underneath that tower all the way to the back room. It's like a racetrack, constantly circling.
Hmm.
Their water is below 36, 35 degrees for their soda water. A lot colder than ice cooled machines that you see at other restaurants. Okay. So number one is the cooling is better.
Okay.
On their equipment. Number two would be their water filtration. So 80% of our drinks are water for fountain drinks, 80%. So if you start with good quality water, you're going to have that good finished beverage.
Yeah.
So their water filters, thousands of dollars worth of filters, and they're changed and monitored routinely. They're always updated. The third thing is their syrup. The Coke syrup is bulk syrup. It's in a big 75-gallon vat in the back. And that's filled up probably once a week. It's not bag in a box that you see everywhere else. So that product is a lot fresher than a lot of these restaurants. And the fourth thing that makes McDonald's drink so much better is the size of their straw is wider than all the other restaurants out there.
By design.
By design. So you get more soda through their straw when you're drinking. And it affects your drink.
So it tastes better, but they probably also you probably consume more product by accident.
By accident, yes, you probably do.
Oh my goodness.
But science is involved. The colder it is, the more carbonation is retained.
Amazing. Okay. Let's see. I got two things for you. Well, let's just talk about the future for a second then too. You already showed us VR, which is great. I mean, your future is like right around the corner. And your future is way ahead of a lot of other people, right? I just want to let you know that. It's like even myself, I had a Quest 2 and I surprised that I did not use it as much as I thought I would have.
Yep.
And again, I'm really fascinated about the Apple product coming out because it is making some headway.
I saw I don't know if that was advertisement, but there was a person driving or traveling on the subway sitting there, and he's on the computer and everything else, and looks strange right now, but I imagine in the future everyone's gonna be doing the same thing, and that might be the normal look everyone has now.
You know what I think? I think actually they'll find the gestures that are more natural, that are less Johnny mnemonic, right? Either that or it'll go that full part. There'll be dance artists and majors who will come the top computing people because they can do moves that nobody else can do. So I think there's some of that.
I think what's going to happen is eventually there'll be like a contact lens that you see everything.
Oh yeah,
you don't have the big big headset. No.
Yeah. Contact lens, and so that you have the ability to see all these things in your world, right? And more naturally. I think that's true too. So okay, contact lens. What else? What else do you see in the future? What else do you have wishes for, or what do you think is going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years? Virtual and hybrid meetings.
Yeah. Where will the future go? I think we're here. I don't know what's coming up, John. I'm curious to know. VR, AR, it's probably the thing. How do you get that with our technicians? You still need the hands-on touch. How can you involve that into the VR atmosphere? That or not atmosphere, but
no, I'm rewatching
the realm of VR. But how do you touch and feel objects? Like I need to, repair this valve. How do I get that sensation? I'm turning the screw too tight. I can see that visually through VR, but how's it truly real life?
I'm rewatching.
Is that possible?
I'm rewatching Ready Player One, the VR movie, and haptics, right? Haptics is that science of touch, and that's going to start possibly making some headway.
Do you remember what city that was for the Ready Player One? What city they were at?
Oh shoot! I just saw it. No,
you probably want to know, but I live there, so.
Go ahead.
It was Columbus, Ohio, and they had the
Oh.
buildings in the background where the trailers were stacked up where they lived, and in the background the skyline is Columbus's skyline. And
Oh.
nobody would know unless you lived here. But what happened was, I don't know if it was the producer or the writer of that. He graduated, I believe, from Ohio State University, so he has some ties to Ohio,
Yeah.
and that's why it was in that movie.
Okay, I've been inventing this new thing called speed round, so I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions with really quick answers. Are you ready, Mike?
I think so.
Favorite Coke product?
Uh, Coke Zero.
Okay, favorite movie?
Favorite movie would be Wolves of Wall Street.
Ooh, oh my gosh, I just rewatched that. That's good
This
too.
is like this. Dum, dum, dum.
With the mic. Yeah, it was a mic trick too. He was doing a mic trick.
Yeah.
Right. Favorite Coke commercial?
Ooh, got me on that one. All of them. They're all great. Most of our commercials you're going to see are all about bringing people together. That's what we're about here at Coca-Cola. We're all family, is bring them together and share a Coke.
Aw, Mean Joe Green is mine. Best podcast that is not yours.
Best podcast that is not mine. Oof. Can I say I don't listen to too many of them? Probably Joe Rogan. He's all over the place.
Very controversial,
entertaining.
but very popular. Okay, favorite favorite piece of technology or technical product that you use?
The Oculus.
Oh, the Oculus. Interesting. Okay, good. Favorite Coke client?
McDonald's. Oh, I can't say that. They're all important. They're all important, John.
You can have a personal favorite. A shout out. We'll do a shout out. Okay.
Shout out. There we go.
A shout out to a non-US country that serves Coke.
We're in every country but 2 now. Well, 3 now. So let's go with I don't know, England.
England. Oh, UK. I just talked to somebody UK today. Favorite microphone?
I got the Shure microphone. I'm a big fan of it.
It's probably the SM57. I can't see it.
Mm,
Yep, that's the SM57. I believe that's correct. And the last one, oh no, I have one more. 2 more. Favorite camera?
Favorite camera. I don't know what model I have here, but it's auto tracking. So it's called InstaLink 360.
Oh
Auto
yeah,
tracking. You can do hand signals. You can zoom in on dry erase board. Good stuff.
very cool stuff. My favorite is the equivalent of that. Oh, the OBS Bot Tiny 2 is the one I've been using a lot lately. Okay. And the last one, favorite book that you've ever read?
This virtual engaging book is the best I've ever read. No, honestly, it does help you out with Zoom. I'm waiting for the next one because Zoom has so many new features now. But yeah, John's book, spot on.
There we go. There's the music for that. Thank you. You know, it's so funny. Like I am thinking about writing the follow-up book right now this season that's really geared towards the practical pieces of like meetings, day-to-day meetings and conferences. So like how to apply all the tools into context. You know, things like that, music or, these little tips. These are all the tips too that people told me that they want to do, but they tried and they failed. So or they just didn't figure it out.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more on the audio matching video. And I know we've been in communication over that, but yeah, I think that needs more explored more and more helpful hints out there.
Well, your audio is perfectly synced on this, so this setup is spot on. I can tell you that.
Cool.
If people could only remember one thing from this, Mike, from this interview, what would you want that one thing to be?
Keep learning. There's new ways to teach people. Virtual is a new space, and we're constantly learning from each other. So if you know something new, trick of the trade, please share it so we all can learn together and be pros at it. So
each one teach one. Mike, I'm so glad that you reached out to me at Training Magazine. I'm very honored to be your friend and have even one of my products in the Coke studio. And I really hope that one day I get the opportunity to stop by and say hi inside your studio.
You're always welcome. So I appreciate the time and thanks for the chat. Thanks everybody out there too.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. All right, this is John Chen, and the message here is learn some cool new stuff and then go teach somebody else. And if you listen to the product, right, it's about bringing people together, whether it's virtual, hybrid, or in person. That's what I'm about too. One, I'm here to end suffering, which is suffering on virtual meetings and hybrid meetings, and so that you can get that stuff out of the way and receive the education and really connect with other people. So I really hope that you got something from this interview behind that. And if not, just go to the podcast beveragebreak.com and learn some more about how those fountain drinks that you drink so much of are made. Hey, if you're here, make sure and subscribe, share, and like. You can go and subscribe here, engagingvirtualmeetings.online. New episode releasing every Wednesday. And my conference is coming up here. We've got a free ticket for you, engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON, October 1, 2, and 3. And the last one here is, if you want to be the next Mike, be like Mike, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, pick the best hour of your day, and you too could be the next guest here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Drawing star people and keyhole people, show you